everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Couch GMs podcast. It is Monday, January 12th, 2025. I'm your host, George Kurt, joined by the one and only Cody Roadcap. Now, I know it wasn't a good weekend for either of us, but how you doing otherwise?
Whenever you're ready for the moment of silence to the Packers, the Eagles, and the Chargers, just let me know.
I think we're good now. We wore black for the occasion, so we're coordinated.
Yeah, rough weekend for us, so okay, I think we're good.
Yeah, cool. That works. Okay, so I promise we're going to get more upbeat here, even though we had a reverse Couch GM sweep this week. But you can follow us at the Couch GMs, Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, to even more you do from the show here. As always, DM us with any questions you have every week, or join us Mondays and Thursdays at 6:30 East on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. All right, Cody, why don't we jump in and see what is happening? Alrighty. We're just going to basically go through the games that happened so far this weekend, because I think that's probably the best way to recap everything. Not a whole lot of coaching news has come out yet. Couple interviews. Obviously, we're going to keep you up to date with that as we go through the postseason and even into the offseason. But didn't really feel like there was something noteworthy here. So why don't we start on Saturday, and we can talk about the Rams at Panthers game, where I think both of us and even Mikey B, who was on the show with us on Thursday, really underestimated the Panthers.
Yeah, and I think so did the Rams. I think they felt like everyone else. I was talking to somebody after the game, and I was like, this game for the Rams, I don't want to say is like gonna be like the game that like pulls them all together, but like makes them relock in. But it kind of felt like, all right, when we all look back on this postseason, that was the chance to get the Rams out. And I feel like the Rams are about to go on a run. They were the team that all three of us picked to win it, so it's not like it changed too much of anything after what happened, but it just felt like that was their chance to drop off. And they tried, but Matt Stafford coming in clutch. I don't know if you saw the clip of him and Devontae on the sideline. I don't know if they even put a clip. It was just Devontae, what he said after. He was like, he walked up to me and was like, let's go snatch their hearts after the score. And I was like, dude, I'd run. And Devontae was like, that is the most gangster thing I've ever heard a quarterback say. And then we went out and did it. Like,
I mean, before this, I heard the term cool as a cucumber to describe how Stafford was in that final drive. I think it's just like cold and heartless at this point. He was out there on a mission. And you know what? Like, they flashed it back to mid-season peak offense Rams on that final drive. And you're right, this could be the game that brings them together for the rest of the postseason. If they can take that momentum, be like, yeah, I know we probably shouldn't have been in that situation, but we pulled through. We know we can beat anybody. Let's go out there and do it.
Yeah, it was a fun game to watch. I mean, the Panthers out on long, like, it wasn't the worst game of the weekend so far. So a lot of shout out to them. Like I said, I think the Panthers, despite being 8-9, they showed a lot of fight, which they've showed in some big games before. I know the comments after Rico Dowdle talked about how he was a little bit upset with how his role diminished. And so he's going to take that into account when he resigns. So for your dynasty owners, Chuba Hubbard might be the guy next year. They might not have him. Maybe we'll finally get to see Jonathan Brooks be healthy. I don't even know if he's still on the team, but I just
think
feel like
so. He's just been on IR.
So, yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna look forward, I don't think it makes sense for them to re-sign Dowdle. I think Dowdle earned himself some cash this year, but you definitely saw the peak and the descent from that peak for Dowdle, which is why there was a lot more Chuba Hubbard down the stretch and then in that postseason game. And Chuba showed when he's healthy how effective he can be. So I think I would expect Dowdle to go elsewhere, and you see that Jonathan Brooks, if he's healthy, and Chuba Hubbard split next year.
Yeah, or they could even just draft someone. They could go another 1 year deal free agent running back. I mean, Dowdle didn't cost a lot even after his thing in Dallas. So like, but yeah, the Rams look good. They get to go to Seattle because of how the other matchups fold up. We get a rematch of them. That should be a fun time. I'm sorry. They're playing Chicago. San Fran
Yes.
goes to Seattle.
Yes, they are playing Chicago. Wild fact of the day, Sean McVay has played 15 playoff games against 15 different opponents.
Hmm.
Well, it will be 15 and 15 after they played Chicago. Chicago's the 15th.
And that's just in the playoffs, because like they played the 49ers before, but that was just in the playoffs. Got it.
Yeah,
That's
just
funny.
The fact that he's never had a repeat in the playoffs. When considering you're playing most of your games against your conference, he obviously played a couple Super Bowls too, but yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, that was a great way to kick off the weekend in a game that I thought was like, I made dinner plans. Like I watched it at a restaurant. Like, but
I mean, the
I can't.
restaurant might have been pretty hyped seeing the end of that game too.
We left at the little after halftime, third quarter, and then got to come home and see the fourth quarter. So it was a good time.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out Panthers, successful season. We're going to see how they can build on it in the offseason into next year. Rams, all of our Super Bowl pick gave us a scare, but we got it right. So we're going to see how they move forward against Chicago next week. And that's our next game, Packers at Bears. And I don't want to take too much of the floor from you. I want to get your reaction before we kind of banter.
I don't know. I've had 48 hours to think about this. There was a point we were up 21-3, and I was like, yeah, I don't feel great, which I don't know what that says about your team in general.
I married a Ravens fan. I understand that feeling.
Which I don't. We can get into that, but hold that thought for when we have our next conversation.
Okay.
But yeah, we were up 21-3. I mean, Chicago did not play well. We held them in check for most of it. It felt oddly similar to the last time we played. Really, all three. Like, don't go look at the ESPN prediction charts of these three games that has the Packers at like the top the whole way until the final, except the first game where they won, but the last two at the very end. Like, it was just a brutal game. I disagree with anybody that said it's Jordan Love's fault. He played incredible. Him or Matt Stafford. And if you're going to give me the whole course of the game, I'd say Love had the best game of any quarterback of wildcard weekend. He played really well, 4 touchdowns, 300 yards. If his offensive line didn't completely implode in the second half, like it honestly looked like they ran out 5 new guys, which is so crazy to me on how they just completely fell apart. And they finally were able to find something a little too late to get them back to the lead. But yeah, it was just a tough way to lose. And I saw this stat, and this goes not just for the playoff games, it's the 3 games against the Bears. How many snaps? The Packers finished 1-2 against the Chicago Bears in the 3 matchups.
Yep.
How many snaps of football did the Chicago Bears offense play with the lead?
I know this is extremely low. Give me like 10.
0.
Oh, even better.
Yeah. The offense never played. So obviously they took the lead, like we saw. And so the defense played with the lead, but the offense never played the lead in 3 games, and they finished 1-2.
And I don't know the stats for the rest of the season, but it feels to me like the Bears have done this all year. And you can look at it 2 ways. And go ahead and everyone roast this again. They're either the team of destiny and they're going to make a miracle run and pull it off, or this thing is going to implode in their face big time. And I don't know which one it is anymore. I was aiming towards the first one most of the season. And we've gotten to the point now where they've done it now in a playoff game. Maybe they're just destined at this point. I don't know. But it doesn't feel like a sustainable way of winning. And it also almost makes me feel, what happens if they end up playing with a lead? We haven't seen it much. We've seen them in seesaw games. We've seen them come from behind. I almost haven't seen them play with a lead.
It's interesting you say that. I did hear someone on some podcast or radio host, and I mean, I have a podcast, so take everything that I say with a grain of salt. So but they were like, does Chicago feel better entering the fourth quarter with a 7-point deficit or a 7-point lead?
I'd say deficit.
And I was like, probably the deficit, honestly. Yeah. And like, I don't want this to be misconstrued as like this team is fake. Like, give them credit. It's hard to come back and win. What they've done is an incredible run, an incredible feat. It just feels like how is it keep happening again, where they get all these, and I'm not even going to put them on the Chiefs level from last year, but how many times did the Chiefs win on a blocked field goal or a last second interception or something like that, and they weren't able to pull it out in the playoffs? It took them all the way to the Super Bowl to implode. And maybe that's the same case with the Chicago Bears. Maybe they're able to overcome that hump. I will say what was the most impressive thing about this game was, although the Green Bay Packers tried to give them a turnover, whether it was fumbling in a kickoff, almost fumbling through the end zone, a big man catch that ended up in a fumble that he kicked 15 yards down and then somehow bounced out of bounds. Like they had opportunities, but they never created a turnover.
Mm-hmm.
And the Packers actually had a +2 turnover day, and they were still able to overcome that.
Yeah.
And that was an impressive win. I still think the questions for Caleb Williams are valid. He has all the tools and potential. You've seen it, but there has never been like a guy, and I think a lot of Caleb Williams. I know I have a Packer stuff behind me, and people probably don't believe that, but I feel like even in our friend group, I've been the Caleb Williams guy before he was drafted, and I hated that he went to Chicago. But you get the full experience. You're like, one play, it's like, oh my gosh, how did you make that throw? And then the next play, it's like, oh my gosh, why did you? What? Where did that throw come from? And I don't know if that's going to be their ultimate Achilles heel at some point. Is do the the 4th and 8 rolling on the left throw in between 3 people that basically saved their game and eventually led them to go win the game late in the 4th quarter. Like, arguably one of the best throws of the season. I'll give Caleb Williams that. Not just him, just any quarterback in general. Yet the next play, it was like, oh, that didn't look good. He bounced back and they scored, and maybe that was their Super Bowl. I like the Rams next week still. I'm still going to pick the Rams. They were home dogs. Like, and at some point that's got to catch up to them.
Yeah, I mean, or it's going to catch up to Vegas. I don't know. But we're not going to talk a lot about this guy today. We haven't talked a lot about this guy yet, but we're going to on Thursday. The more I keep hearing about and watching Caleb Williams, he reminds me of Bo Nix this year. They are out of their mind good for a quarter, 2 quarters. But those other 2, are they going to cost them? And maybe they're young quarterbacks. Those teams haven't had the experience yet. Maybe it's just the year early syndrome. Maybe it's, I don't, but like, is it going to be enough to put both those teams over the top? That's going to be the question. And I'm just drawing a lot of similarities between those two. The difference is the Bears defense probably isn't as tight, but they're more opportunistic on the turnover end. The Broncos defense is tight.
Yeah, and the Bears defense is very good. They did lose TJ Edwards in this game, which is going to be a big loss in moving forward. And their left tackle seems like they're also going to be out, which was their offensive line. Granted, Caleb makes a lot of things happen with his legs. He's very hard to tackle, which they can mitigate some of that. But those are 2 big losses. You hate to see that in the playoffs, losing caliber players. And for me, it's hard to sit here and say the better team won. However, you collapse to the same team twice, it's hard to not give them the credit as well. And so, Chicago Bears fans, congrats. You won the offseason. It paid off in the regular season, and
Finally.
you made us pay in the playoffs. I hope your season ends next week. I will not root for you. But you're at least a Chicago Bears game is going to be interesting.
You definitely do.
I don't think they're getting blown out for 4 quarters.
Or if they start to get blown out, they're going to come back in the 4th quarter. We've seen that way too many times. So
right,
you're never turning that one off because you never know what's going to happen in that 4th quarter. But you mentioned really quickly the Packers blowing 2 games to them. Not something that's been out of the ordinary. 7 seed, few straight years, haven't had much playoff success. Is Matt LaFleur safe?
I think if he avoids the infamous Couch GM breaking news the minute we click off, within 5 minutes of us going on live, he's safe.
You think it's got to be tonight? If it's past tonight, they decide to keep him.
No, I think he's safe in general, but that also feels like I don't know. The reporting around the whole I think he's safe. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I think he's safe. I do think the reporting around it has left it open for a mutually agreeing to part ways, right? Because they're in that awkward situation where, all right, so we've been the 7th seed 3 times. He's a really good play caller. We're probably going to lose Jeff Halfley to a defensive coordinator. Like, he has 1 year left, but the team president said he didn't want to play with 1 year. Does Matt LaFleur want to play with 1 year left on his contract because they made a big deal about it? So, like, they almost have to reach an extension, right?
Mhm.
And then at this point, it's like, okay, well, are you going to extend him to fire him a year later if this trend continues, right? Or is it better to just rip the Band-Aid off now? I think LaFleur knows that too, which is why he's like, wait, you said you don't want to do 1 year contracts, which I think it's a very fascinating situation to kind of see like the player team kind of roll over to the coaches front office thing, which we don't see very often because coaches contracts aren't technically public knowledge. I also know he's been underpaid, which I think has played a factor into it. Like, although Ben Johnson just beat him, he got more as a first-time head coach than Matt LaFleur got on his second extension. So
Wow.
obviously some of that is market value, but I think there is some to that too. If he is safe, though, I do expect a lot of changes. Uh, I expect the special teams coordinator, Rich Bisaccia, to be gone. I would not be surprised if they moved on from the offensive coordinator. They definitely need a new offensive line coach after that implosion. Like, it's someone compared it to John Harbaugh, which there's a lot of John Harbaugh out there that was like, the Ravens said you could stay, but you have to move on from Todd Monken. And he was like, I don't want to do that. That's my guy. And they're like, okay, we're going to let you go. And there's like, I wonder if LaFleur is getting that kind of ultimatum, like, hey, we like you as the leader, but we need some new fresh voices. We need something to change. If you're willing to make those changes, here's the deal. And we'll move on. So we'll wait and see what happens. But God forbid they fire LaFleur just to hire Harbaugh. I will lose. I think Harbaugh is a good coach. He is not what we need to fix the Packers. And there's Adam Schefter is pushing that narrative so hard that Harbaugh is interested in Green Bay. Green Bay would be interested in him because his agent is the son of a former GM. Like, I don't care. That move makes zero sense. Just keep LaFleur at that point. And the other thing I've seen a lot of is people are like, keep LaFleur, but take away his play calling and go get like a Mike McDaniel. One, Mike McDaniel's not coming to be a non-play caller, and two, giving up play calling at that point, just fire Matt LaFleur. That is his bread and butter. That's what makes him unique. That's what makes him one of the top coaches in the league. And my final point on Matt LaFleur, so George can speak a little bit, and people don't think this is a Packers podcast, is if they fired Matt LaFleur, which team would not want him to interview for? If you have the best coach in the market, why not just keep him at there?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how this cycle has a lot of retreads, but there's a lot of good retreads. People have a lot of respect for Stefanski, Harbaugh. McDaniel even is going to get head coaching interviews. I think he's going to be an OC this year. Like, but LaFleur probably would jump to the top of the list for everybody out there. And you can look at it as like he's had this struggle with the Packers, but it's hard to make the playoffs in four straight years? Five, maybe even.
He's made it 6 of the 7 years he's been the head coach.
Yeah. Hard to make it 6 of 7 years, no matter where you're getting into the playoffs. And you can argue, like, he had Rodgers for a few years. He had a year of basically rookie quarterback Jordan Love. They haven't had the most talented roster on either side of the ball for the most part. They've had a solid defense 1 year. They've never really had the stud receiver once they let Devontae Adams go. Like, he's done a lot with not a whole lot in that system. He's made guys who could or could not be great. They might be bad elsewhere, look great in situations in Green Bay. So I agree that there's not the coach out there on the market that would make sense to replace LaFleur with at this moment. So why would you move on from him now? Maybe in a year or two, if this continues or he misses the playoffs and has a horrible season, we revisit. But for now, I don't think it makes sense either.
Yeah. And the other big part about this is the development of Jordan Love. And I
Yeah.
know it's going to be a hot topic. I saw people saying, don't ever tell me Jordan Love is a top 10 quarterback again after that performance again. I don't know what you were watching. Jordan Love had an incredible season. Before his concussion in Chicago, he was third odds in MVP voting or per Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Like he finished the year second in QBR, sixth in passer rating, seventh in success rate, fifth in completion percentage over expected. If you're big into the EPA stuff, he's second EPA per dropback. Like a lot of advanced metrics that he was very good this year. Did it turn out into a playoff win? No, but what team loses 5 of their blue chip players, including their best player on defense, probably their top 2 players on defense? What's Tucker Kraft? Tucker Kraft, their second or third best player on offense. Like,
yeah,
they went into a playoff game without their best offensive lineman. Like, there were. That's the other thing too. Like, injuries played such a big factor into this year. And honestly, at the end of the day, we're not even having this conversation if Brandon McManus makes his freaking kicks.
And yeah, you're right. Another kicker situation that bites the Packers in the postseason.
Like, special teams in the playoffs and the Packers, they don't go well.
No.
Screw banning the tush push. Ban special teams.
I don't know if that one's going to get much traction with the NFL competition committee, but we can propose it.
And I obviously say that facetiously. Like, I don't actually think special teams should go away. But, like, again, like all this talk about the Matt LaFleur, and I get it. Like, there's buzz about Nick Sirianni. You know, is he going to get let go after their collapse? Which I don't think he's going to do. I think they're going to have a shake up on the offensive line. They had a brain drain last year. It didn't work out. There was obviously Harbaugh got let go. Mike Tomlin tonight. Like, what is his status if they go one and done again? Right? We could get another opening for sure. But like, it was still the third youngest team. It was the youngest team for the third year in a row. You made the playoffs all 3 times. There's a good young core. It was locker cleanout day. They got a lot of top players to vouch for him. I think moving on from LaFleur would be a mistake. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a biased fan and can't see past the deficiencies. But there's just not a world that you're like, I'm going to get rid of LaFleur to hire Kevin Stefanski. I'm going to get rid of LaFleur to bring in John Harbaugh.
I agree.
Like, the only name, like, are you going to bring in Mike LaFleur, the OC for the Rams, is getting buzz? Like,
no.
Maybe if anybody, Clint Kubiak, because he's like the next young offensive line guy that's getting some buzz with Seattle. Maybe him, just because he's like the unknown. But like, I don't need a retread to move on from LaFleur. I mean, some Packers fans want to bring back Mike McCarthy, and I'm just like, guys, can we grow up?
I think we can leave this argument here. If anything does break right before we get off the air, like if it not breaks right after, we'll obviously throw it up here. But why don't we move to the Sunday slate? We're gonna go Bills at Jags here, and this felt like a statement game from Josh Allen, because man, did he get beat up and battered and just kept getting up, kept ticking, had the game-winning drive, had a tush push for 10 yards. I still don't quite understand how he did that one. I mean, I don't have much else to say, but this felt like a hero ball Josh Allen game, but almost like Josh Allen 2.0 in a sense, because it felt a lot more under control to me than previous Josh Allen hero ball games.
Yeah, I think that game, again, it was a lot of fun. Came down to the wire. Josh Allen put everything out in the line. He got the monkey off the Bills' back of not being able to win on the road. Jacksonville came in. We had talked about, like, they already on an 8-game win streak. To keep that rolling is impressive. Obviously, they had a couple interceptions, which were big against Trevor Lawrence. None bigger than that last, tipped interception to basically seal the deal. But yeah, the Bills played really well, and I think they're still a scary team because they have the best quarterback left in the playoffs. Probably the best quarterback in the playoffs to start. I think so. With him, there's always a chance. I think they got an incredibly bad draw with Denver, and I think Denver matches up really well with them. I think Sean Payton will keep running the ball, which is where the Bills struggle, and I think they can stop the run, which is getting James Cook involved has been a big part of games that they win. So with Josh Allen, you have a shot. Don't get me wrong, but I think if they could have avoided Denver or got Denver in the championship game or something like that, it might have been better. And if they overcome Denver, I think, which I think we both, I mean, you picked the Bills to make the Super Bowl and we did our predictions, if I'm remembering correctly. And then I think me and Mike both picked the Jags.
Yep.
And Mike even said, and I think we agreed, he was like, whoever wins this game is the one I'm picking to represent the AFC. And he just picked wrong. You picked right. We'll have to wait and see if that unfolds.
Yeah, we were all on the same page basically with that game being the game. Denver is definitely in my head the next biggest challenge. Because of how good that defense has been and how good they are at, running the ball and just going ahead and keep running the ball. But I guess they're not really actually good at running the ball since they haven't had J.K. Dobbins. So, I mean, we'll preview that game more on Thursday, but I'm still questioning how hard it's going to be for the Bills. When it comes to the Bills side here and talking about with this game, with how bad Josh Allen got beat up and how bad Josh Allen was beat up at the end of the season, I'm just worried more about, is there enough left in the tank for him to be able to will this for another month? You talked about how they got the monkey off of the Bills' back because they won the away game. The only chance they had at a home game lost. They still have to go win 2 more in a neutral site game with Josh Allen maybe even on crutches today. We don't know. It's going to be a tough road ahead if they can't protect him a little bit, and hopefully they're giving him all the treatment and more that he needs for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think he can put himself in a fantastic spot by getting the Bills over the hump into the Super Bowl in terms of
where's the RV, the Windstream that Matt Stafford had, because they need to send it up to Buffalo.
Dude, they're not sending it. They're keeping that thing parked outside of SoFi.
Get another one.
So, yeah, I think, and the Jags, they had an incredible season. I think that team is going to be good heading into next year as well. I think Trevor Lawrence took a step. They got the run game going. They're getting Travis Hunter back, which would be a big boost, offense or defensively, whichever one they let him lock into. Jacoby Myers is a great thing. I do want to ask you, though, I don't know if you saw the viral clip about the reporter in the press conference that ended up taking her opportunity to ask a question and basically just give, hey, hold your head up. You had a great season. And there's been a lot of pushback from other reporters saying, that's unprofessional. You're not there to be there. Hold their hand. You're supposed to be there to ask questions. They have limited time to take time away to do that. That's one. What are your thoughts? Do you care any about the professional and personal? I thought it was a cool gesture. You could tell he was shaken up. This team hasn't had much to cheer for. It was probably also a thank you for her for making this season exciting.
And I mean, I'm sure that's not the first time that she's interviewed them all season too. I mean, you have to be able to go out there and say thank you for allowing me to talk to you all season, for answering my question. I think it's a nice personal touch. I think at that point, other media personalities are probably just too buttoned up and old school. And they obviously are you're not out here doing your job. But on another sense, these people that are reporting on these teams are probably just as much fans as you and me. So as a Couch GM sitting here in my office recording a podcast, however much clout and respect that gives me, I can respect somebody who is going out here and trying to, report on things, but still also has that passion for the game or for the team that they're reporting on, and recognizes that it was a big step forward. And the Jags shouldn't be done. So I honestly, as much as it was a trying to support the person and it was a very human thing, I think it also could serve as a reminder to the people that were reading her reporting or watching her like the press conference and hearing her, whatever, that it's not the end for the Jags.
Yeah. The only thing I'd push back on that is, and maybe this is because I live on a different team's Twitter, is I don't think all reporters are, I think they're all fans of the game or passionate about football. I don't know if that would say fans of their team, and they're definitely like, some of them prefer to be right rather than connected, which is fine. Like, you want an unbiased person asking the coach tough questions, like
Yeah.
you and stuff like that. But I don't think there was anything wrong with taking a moment to say, hey, hold your head up. Like, I don't think that's ever wrong.
Even if we take my point of the whole, like, they're fans of the team, fans of the game, there's a point of being human too. So
Exactly.
yeah, recognizing the person was in distress and trying to help them. I agree with that. Oh, it's not.
Oh no.
Back.
You good?
Yeah. Sure that I'm good. So that was a huge step forward for Trevor Lawrence, who me at multiple times, especially earlier this year, was thinking that, is he a bust? Are the Jags going to find a way to move on? And he was able to prove that he can pioneer a good team. And we'll see what the Jags do with the next step, but they have weapons around him now. Liam Cohen seems like he unlocked something in him that we hadn't seen before. So, I mean, hopefully you're back, Cody, and you can agree or disagree. But I think this was, if nothing else, the establishment of Trevor Lawrence can be a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I think he can. I mean, I'd still like to see him take another step next year, which I still think he's young enough to do that. Like, I don't think this is his final evolution. Just a little bit slower. Similar to like a Jared Goff. Like, it took him a couple years to get better, and I think Trevor Lawrence can do that. Obviously, they've already paid him like one, but they seem to have found a guy that works with him well, and I'm looking forward to the Jaguars in 2026.
All right. I think we're on to 49ers at Eagles now. And I'll let you decide. Do you want to talk 49ers first, or do you want to talk Eagles first?
We can talk Eagles first.
Because I think the big question in Philly, like, they had a great defensive season. They were able to defend their title by getting 11 wins, getting in the playoffs, winning the division. But that offense that has a lot of weapons and has a lot of money invested into it, yet again went from looking fine to looking absolutely horrible. Excuse me. And I think, like, to your point, I want to like tie back into what you were saying about LaFleur, where he's a play caller and like that's what makes him special. And if you take that away from him, you might as well fire him as a coach. Like, when the Eagles initially brought in Nick Sirianni, that was their hope for him as well, because he was an offensive coordinator. You're hoping he could be an elite play caller. He obviously couldn't be. He passed off the play calling duties in his first season. And then since then, Philly's been stuck in the revolving door of, you have a good offensive coordinator, they get snatched up to be a head coach. You have a bad offensive coordinator, they don't make it past a year. And that's why we're getting the continuation of the Jalen Hurts has a new play caller every single season of his career. He's only had a play caller 2 consecutive seasons in his rookie year to his second year of the NFL. That even goes back through college. So that's why I wanted to really believe that Kevin Patullo, the Eagles offensive coordinator, should get a second shot, until I looked at their final drive of the game when they ran 10 plays. Essentially 9 of them were out of the exact same formation, and they ran 4 route concepts, and that's it. Like, absolute zero creativity. It's like they went out there the entire season and were like, our players are good, they're going to win. We don't have to scheme anything. And it feels lazy and dumb and stupid.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure no one in Philly wants to give AJ Brown a pass, right? Like he dropped a catchable ball. So did
People are and people
Devonta Smith
are
dropped a catch.
arguing that too, and that didn't even end the game. They converted on fourth to keep going.
That's what I'm saying. Like you stole my next point. I was gonna say honestly, Devonta's drop on the last drive probably hurt more than AJ's because they
Yeah,
continued it. Like,
yeah.
but it was just, yeah. I think they're gonna move on. They're gonna find someone else. They're gonna bring in someone. Like they need to find the Vic Fangio for the offense, the guy that is good enough, but nobody else really wants to bring back as a head coach. Like I don't know if like obviously like you think about what Mike McDaniel has just done with Achan and the weapons down in like with Johnny Smith or Darren Waller, Tua, Tyreek, obviously, and Jalen Waddle. Like AJ might not be back, but if you translate that to AJ, Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith, Barkley, and Goddard, like that would be a ton of fun.
Yeah.
But then a year later, you're right back in that spot, and maybe it's worth it for a year. Maybe that helps get you, you know, not as these players are becoming more and more near the end of their prime, going on that one run. Maybe that helps you. But is there an offensive coordinator out there that would like who is the Andy Reid? Like if Andy Reid probably isn't getting another head coaching job because he's going to retire, right? Like although if the Chiefs and he wanted to, he would, but I don't know who that coordinator is off the top of my mind, but that's who they need, and I don't think there might not even be one. And you might end up getting a guy like a Mike McDaniel, or I just think whoever you get is going to have play calling experience in the past, whether it was an elite offensive play, like at least experience in the past, because it felt like some of those moments, like you mentioned, are what was the ultimate, thing that bit Pachulia in the butt.
Exactly. And I don't know if there is that guy out there that is the offensive coordinator who's not going to get a head coaching gig. Because honestly, most of those elite offensive coordinators end up staying as head coaches just because it ends up working. And then they find that, seasoned defensive guy that goes with them and it works. Like Andy Reid's a perfect example. He's the offensive guru and then he has Spags.
Who gets maybe one interview a year.
Exactly. But he's the steady defensive mind that's just there. And that's what they have with Vic, which is great, but they don't have the offensive side of it, which is why they're on the rotation. And the only offensive guy I can think of who has completely fell on his face as a head coach, but is an offensive coordinator and an established one is Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
In New England. Oh, hi, Nova. We got a second mascot here.
A new mascot.
Yeah. But obviously he's taken, and he's the only one on the offensive side of the ball I can think of that had done this.
Yeah, that's a great point. Maybe if the Patriots have another good year, McDaniels will get his third look, but I don't know if he wants that or not. Yeah, it's a tough situation. And honestly, Mike McDaniel probably doesn't even work for Philly because I don't think him and Vic Fangio had a great relationship when their time together in Miami. So like I don't know if you want to bring that into the building or not. So as Eagles fans, I wouldn't get too up, hopeful on that one.
I agree. I think you'd have a better chance of seeing a Stefanski kind of player or coach come there if he doesn't get a head coaching gig, but I kind of feel like he's going to one of these teams.
Yeah, I want like the guy that I guess kind of comes to mind is like Todd Monken, which I know you're not going to love the name, but like he is a guy, or maybe even like a Greg Roman. Again, not going to love that name.
Again, yeah, I kind of like the name, yeah.
Because of the time with the Ravens, but like those are two kind of guys that they're probably not going to be, head coach front runner. I mean, Monken did get an interview with the Ravens, I believe, and he's gotten some interviews in the past. I think Monken would be a good fit, but I would assume he might end up following Harbaugh anyways.
Other name that might be a little bit of a dark horse because I don't think he's on head coaching radars is Daboll. He's the one that unlocked Josh Allen initially as well, which might be a good fit with Hurts.
Yeah, Daboll would be fun for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I don't know how long it would take him to get another retread in the coaching cycle, but if he does well, I would imagine he would. So you might still be in the same situation next year, and I might be sitting here in 2027 being like, Philly did well, they're going to lose their OC. What are they going to do next?
Yeah. The Daboll one, I think, would be a lot of fun.
All right, Nova. That was fun. But 49ers staying alive and came at a cost as we had George Kittle tear his Achilles in that game. He's been a massive part of that offense, and obviously everyone thinks CMC, and for good reason. But like they haven't had a whole lot in the receiving game that's been consistent. Jawan Jennings is fine. They have a couple other guys. Ricky Pearsall was supposed to be their number one. He still continues to deal with a knee injury. Brandon Ayuk, obviously, on the, not with the team list or whatever it is called. So can they survive another big hit in the passing game?
I want to say no, but like I've said with Chicago, like they can't keep winning this way. They're finding ways to win.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as if Christian McCaffrey goes down, they're done.
100%.
And we'll see. I mean, they get, and I corrected myself, they get Seattle. They get the rematch. It didn't look great in the game that they had to win for the 1 seed. But they did beat them earlier in the season. So that third time, it's always tough. It's divisional. I think that will help them out. But no George Kittle is definitely going to be a sting for them. Obviously, it hurts their chances. Doesn't sound like they're getting Fred Warner back, which is another. I mean, they're just so banged up. So shout out Kyle Shanahan for what he's done, being able to pull this team together and getting them to the amount of wins they did, getting them to the divisional round of the playoffs. Like, fantastic season for them. I think it comes to an end here. Maybe I'll save my final prediction, though, with the right to change it for Thursday. But that's kind of where I'm at with the 49ers.
Yeah, a third divisional game for them is going to be a very interesting case because, okay, you can't see me, but I think you can hear me, so that's good.
Yes.
A third divisional game is going to be interesting because they can kind of go either direction, but like their offense against that elite defense is what concerns me even more than the fact that like they're a familiar foe.
Yeah, even in that game, like they played the run so well against Saquon Barkley. George just disconnected his device, so we'll see if he comes back here. But I'll keep talking about how the 49ers defended the run so well. They just have that like scrappy underdog feel, almost kind of like the Nick Foles Eagles. Like they just don't quit. I'm not saying it's going to carry them all the way, but there is just something scrappy about them that, similar to Chicago, you just can't rule them out.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry if I'm a little off center now too. This has been a good time.
But this time Nova.
Yeah, no, honestly, it literally was Nova. I pushed her off of the camera, and then she went behind the camera and was like, "I'll show you."
So, all right. But we were talking about I did want to throw out there, what are your thoughts long term on George Kittle? Tearing it in the playoffs most likely means probably not playing next year.
Or at least not most next year. That's actually a really good point because it is closer to the 12-month injury than the ACL. Yeah, so that's a big hit for fantasy actually. Because are you going to go out there and
he's not getting drafted.
take
There's
him?
No way.
Yeah, no, probably not. But there's going to be people that might rush the waiver wire if he comes back late in the season when we're still sitting here like, why are there no tight ends? Because you know it's going to happen. But I don't know if he's even going to be effective coming out of that because there's a lot of like you can come back in 10 months, 11 months off of a Achilles, but there's a big drop off. And when it comes to the 49ers, doesn't really matter because they're not going to have good CMC next year by the trend either. So they are probably going to struggle and miss the playoffs. This is their run.
Yeah, I think
I said that with as straight of a face as I could.
Oh, there goes George's camera again. Maybe he should just let it be his avatar. It's fine. But yeah, I think the George Kittle situation is going to be fascinating. I don't expect him back until maybe the end of the season if they do squeak into the playoffs, but he could be 34 coming back from an Achilles in 2027, or not quite. He'll turn 34 that year, which will have some big impacts on fantasy in general, but we'll have all the time in the world to break that down.
Yes, we will. I am hopefully okay now. And we have one more game to talk about, don't we?
Yeah, but this one will be the quickest.
Probably because it was also the least. It was the one game that wasn't close. I'll say it was a good slate for competitive games.
Yeah, and this game was kind of close, at least for three quarters.
Yeah, it wasn't entertaining, but it was close, sure.
Yeah, it was like 10-3. It wasn't like a fun watch, but and then the Patriots pulled. Heck, maybe it was 9-3, and the Patriots pulled away. I don't remember what the final score was, but
16-3, so it was probably 9-3.
Yeah, so like the Chargers had all the opportunities in the world. The Justin Herbert discourse, 0-3 in the playoffs. Obviously, the offensive line was incredibly banged up and was getting after him, but there was guys open. So he just couldn't hit them. They couldn't miss them. He took a beating as well. It just seemed like those injuries caught up to them. Not getting Omarion Hampton back like they had hoped, I think, played a factor into that. But the Patriots defense is good. They're gonna be scrappy as they try to continue their way for a championship.
Yeah, they definitely will. And I don't think we saw the best of Drake May in this game, which I don't know if I was expecting it. Kid in his first playoff game. They put up 16 against a good, not great defense. And I think they're going to need a little bit more if they want to finish the run, especially when they end up playing teams like Denver, or if they happen to get into a shootout with Buffalo or that kind of thing. We'll obviously see if they end up playing Houston or Pittsburgh. Big difference on which one they play in that case, with Steelers with a bad defense, Texans with a good defense. Rodgers could be opportunistic. We don't know. We see out of Stroud. Like, they're completely opposite teams, basically. So it might be a interesting matchup to see which one ends up going against them. But hi again, Nova. Like, they showed what their formula has to be to win the Super Bowl. They executed it perfectly against the Chargers, and they're going to have to just basically do it again and again to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I think they have a good chance. They obviously get the winner of tonight's game, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, and I think they're going to play the Houston Texans. Not to,
I agree. I just didn't want to be that mean.
But hey, if I would love, okay, this is just love is not the right word, because I don't want to see Chicago in the Super Bowl. However, you could talk me into an Aaron Rodgers-led Steelers going out on top, beating the Bears one last time to get a second ring. Like, if
it ends it with the "I still own you."
Yes, that will make the loss okay. That's the only way I'll feel good about the loss and seeing Chicago move on. Again, I don't want to see them get into the playoff or the Super Bowl or anything like that, and I don't think Pittsburgh is going to win. But the question was about the Patriots, so let's bring it back to the Patriots. Yeah, I think they have all the pieces, but I am excited to see how they play against some really good teams coming up, like the Houston Texans. That defense, how does May perform? Broncos or Denver, that's another really good team. I'd love to see how they perform against them. Or the third match against the Buffalo Bills, right? Like, however this pans out, I'm really excited how they finish against some of these better teams.
Agreed. And I still think that they're kind of the underdog of what's left. Like, the Texans have a little playoff experience. Rodgers, whoever gets through in that one. Like, the Patriots I'm not saying they're going to be underdogs on the line, but when it comes to like what you're thinking for them moving to a Super Bowl, they're going to be an underdog, and they're a solid team. So
yeah, I don't know if I have a lot of respect for Mike Vrabel, what he was able to do with the Titans, getting them to an AFC Championship game. So I would not be surprised to see him get the Patriots there with the team that they put together.
Yeah, that's very true too. Like, we were talking about how he did some really good things with some not super fantastic Titans teams. So to see him do this with New England is not necessarily a shock. I think the biggest thing for me is this is his first year there, and with a young quarterback, that it feeling a year early is part of why they still feel like an underdog to me. But if you talk to me about the exact same thing next year, might be a completely different story.
For sure.
For the Chargers, we're kind of in this happened again kind of mode. And I know Harbaugh hasn't been there for that long, but part of that is also, like you said, Herbert just this feels like playoff Herbert is what this is, and it's not going to be able to get past the first round. And I'm sure there's a lot of Chargers fans out there that are like, do we have another Phillip Rivers? Are we going to be a really good regular season team that can never even get close to making a run? And that's got to be scary for them.
Yeah, that's a good comp. I think there is a lot of media hype behind Justin Herbert that not all quarterbacks get. Like, I feel like he gets more passes. I won't throw Jordan Loves out there because then I'll just sound like a hater. But like, I feel like he gets more passes than even like Jalen Hurts. Like from if I was going to start a team today, do I want Justin Herbert or Jalen Hurts? And honestly, they're probably pretty similar, right? Like,
yeah,
same with like him and Brock Purdy, like because everyone sees the frame, the intangibles, the strong arm, like, and I get that. Like, I'm a big intangibles guy for how I like to pick quarterbacks, root for quarterbacks. Same with bringing it back to Caleb Williams. That's why I liked him so much coming out, was because of the intangibles. But at a certain point, like the intangibles have to like produce, and they're a solid, you know, team. But this is only his third, you know, playoff appearance in what, 7 years of starting, 6 years of starting.
yeah.
Hasn't won one. Like, they've had some big moments. Yeah, he's been injured at times. They were really injured along the offensive line this year. Like, if you asked anyone to, look at the Eagles, look at the Packers, all losers, massive injuries to their best offensive linemen. Like, it's a big part of it. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think there needs to start to be a little bit deeper of a conversation about where does Justin Herbert ultimately fall in this situation, and then also, goes to like Jesse Minter, their defensive coordinator. He's going to get some head coaching interviews because of how well that defensive played. How do they replace him? Like, do we expect the Chiefs to be down for 2 years in a row? Is Denver going to take a step back? Like, can the Raiders with Mendoza do what, the Patriots and Drake May are doing in year 2? Like, we've seen rookie quarterbacks take player, like, I'm not going to say is this it for the Chargers, because I think they can, rebuild, they get healthy, get better. But like Keenan Allen came back and was probably their top receiver. Like, Quentin Johnson had an okay year. Lad McConkey fell off a cliff. Like, there's just a lot of question marks around this Chargers team. And as the resident Chargers fan, I know it has you shaking in your boots.
No, it was a bad year for second year receivers in general. But like, yeah, you're right. Keenan Allen being their top target, basically, being at his age, maybe not even being back next year, or definitely not being there for multiple, is concerning. It is hopeful that they are going to be a run first team, not only to protect Justin Herbert from hopefully, whatever playoff issues he may have in the future, but they have a rookie running back to help run that if they can keep him on the field. That unfortunately didn't work this year. But they're going to have to hope the Quentin Johnston situation was not a fluke, because I thought he was dead in the water before this year. And then all of a sudden he had a good season, and they need Lad McConkey to have a rebound next year. It's definitely not over. They're also a very well coached team. Jim Harbaugh knows what he's doing. He's had success. He's taken a team to the Super Bowl before. There's a chance he can do it again here. It's going to take some building, and it's going to take a big step. But the Herbert not producing in the playoffs, and I don't know what his stats are and what you'd consider big games either. They haven't won a division title. They haven't had much of a chance with the Chiefs up there, but I would kind of like to see how he's performed in big games in the regular season too, though, and see if this is just an isolated playoff situation and a limited sample size of 3 games, or if this is just a potential all-around clutch issue.
Yeah, I'm willing to, let's see what happened, right? We're talking about Trevor Lawrence, how he was a late bloomer, Jared Goff, late bloomer. But at the end of the day, I have some concerns about Justin Herbert. I think like he might be like Derek Carr, right? Like, Derek Carr was always better than average, but never Like he was just always like QB 14.
He was the average line. And we said it in fantasy, I think, multiple times too. It's like, are you better than Derek Carr? You're playable. Are you worse than Derek Carr? You're not playable. Are you better than Derek Carr? You have a chance to be an elite quarterback. Are you worse than Derek Carr? You may be replaceable.
Yeah. And
it could be the same thing with Justin Herbert. You're not kidding.
I'm sure if that gets clipped, which it might, there will definitely be some comments. I can't believe you just compared Justin Herbert to Derek Carr.
I mean, we're at the point where, like, when you were talking, I was trying to think, like, is there another quarterback in the league that's comparable to this right now? The first one that came to my head was Joe Burrow, because obviously they've missed the playoffs so many times. The difference is Burrow has been clutch, made it to a Super Bowl, has playoff wins, and the big problem with them is he's been hurt. So he's not even really a comp.
And had a historically bad defense.
Oh, and yeah, that's true.
A defense that technically got better, but was still last in the league. So
I'm so glad they still finished last in the league.
So
really quick touch on this Texans Steelers game before we get out of here.
Yeah, I love just inside baseball, which go Phils, I think is what I'm saying this year.
I'm so glad we got in the Phillies bandwagon as well. Welcome back, Kyle Corbin.
About 2 minutes before we went live, we're like, this show might be 20 minutes. We don't have much to talk about. We're at 56 minutes, and we haven't even got to the final game of Super Wildcard Weekend. So we can break down Texans at Steelers. We talked a lot about it with Mikey B on the last episode, which I highly recommend you checking out. A little bit of a longer one, and obviously some of the content is outdated now that the playoffs has happened, but it was a fun conversation with him. But Texans at Steelers, I know there's some buzz about the cold weather and CJ Stroud. I'm not buying that, but this feels like the Texans game to lose.
100%. And I don't necessarily know if Stroud's going to have to do a lot. If they can get the run game going, especially, because they're going to have to score something. I don't see Rodgers just getting shut out, but Texans defense is good. Rodgers hasn't been the best against great defenses so far this year. And like we said on Thursday, he doesn't have a top target right now that's not named Kenny Gainwell on a flat and out of the backfield. Like, DK Metcalf is the X factor here, and he hasn't been consistent enough this season for me to feel comfortable to even put the Steelers in this game. I could see a 27-3 Texans win more than I could see a 20-17 Steelers win.
Yeah, I think that's a solid point. I have a hard time seeing the Steelers score, really. That's the thing with me. I think Kenny Gainwell might have over 10 catches this game just because he's going to be an outlet on a lot of the pressure, and I think they're going to get pressure on Rodgers. I will say the X factor for me for the Steelers' possibility of winning would be DK Metcalf coming back from the suspension. He's had a game here or there, but they really haven't been able to get him rolling like they had hoped. But if they can, or he can have one of his big games, can they hit a couple deep plays? And the Steelers defense is good. Like, I don't expect either team to be in the 30s, maybe not even the high 20s. To your point, like, this game definitely feels like the mid 20s, 17 range aspect of it. So if you can keep it close and hit a big play, that's probably the Steelers' avenue to victory.
But you say the Steelers' defense isn't bad. And I mean, they have stars all over the field that haven't meshed. And you could see TJ Watt go off in this game. That's a possibility any game he's on the field. He's now also had a week under his belt coming back from his collapsed lungs. So that's also a good sign. But they grayed out horribly. They were one of the, if not the worst team against the pass in the league during the regular season, which doesn't make any sense with the names. And I think I learned pretty quickly over the weekend, you can have the names and you can't just expect to flip the switch once the playoffs come. So if it happens, like I'm saying, it's within the realm of possibility, but I'm definitely not expecting it.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, but like you mentioned, the stars, like, obviously some of them are past their prime. Like Jalen Ramsey's still very good, but he's not what he once was, right? Like, I think Joey Porter Jr. is a really good corner. Like, if he make a play, I think from the defensive aspect, both of these teams is like what's exciting about this game. Maybe that's the better way to put it. The players on both sides of the defense, whether that's the defensive line, the secondary, like that's the more exciting part of this game.
Yeah, interested to see if some of the big stars for Houston go out there and make a name for themselves in this game too. Because I mean, you named all these guys on the Steelers who have either, made a name for themselves on the Steelers or been on other teams in big games and made plays. But like the Texans almost haven't had that yet. So like a lot of people are going to learn about like Derek Stingley, for example, in this game.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Final pick though, you're sticking with the Texans like me?
Oh, for sure.
Nothing's changed there, but great wild card weekend so far.
Yeah, we still don't have the actual schedule, right? For like which game is when. We know which two are on Saturday. Both one seeds are on Saturday, and then the other two games are on Sunday, but we don't know which one's first, which one's the night game. Crazy.
And we know the matchups for the most part, like you said. We don't know, obviously, is it going to be Texans or Steelers playing that middle seed game, but
Texans.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, we're going to be back on Thursday, breaking it all down. Anything else you got to add before we get out of here?
No, sir. I appreciate our coordination of black in this episode, but it's always good to be able to get on with you and break things down and come to terms with things after our team seasons end. But it's still a wide open field, and I'm excited to see how the rest of the playoffs break out and if you and I were onto something or not.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Like George mentioned, a lot of good football this weekend. One more game. A lot of good football next weekend that we are going to be breaking down on Thursdays because we are still 2 times a week. Down there. As always, follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X, all those good places. If you want to do a DFS league and need some people, feel free to shoot us a DM, or if you got questions, we help you to answer those for you. But enjoy the game. Enjoy next round of the playoffs. We'll be back on Thursday. I'm Cody Rooktap. That's George Kurth. We'll talk to you all next week. I don't know why I said next week. I meant Thursday.